you. Can you hear me now? I unmuted.
Yes, yes.
Good,
it's,
good.
It's clear.
Yeah, good.
And so it's wonderful to join once again with my friends from Indonesia for the training courses continuation of the training courses that have been active since 2019. And today, as you know, this week, we will focus on geographical information systems. And the study area of Java and Bali and the greater region is very important because there are so many earthquakes and tsunamis and volcanoes in your study area. So we think that today's session is very important. I'm your training coordinator. Some of you have met me or know who I am. In any case, I've been working with BMKG since 2005, and many interesting and productive visits to your wonderful country. The trainers today are now online. I had not sent them the link until 4 minutes after 6. A little bit of excitement. So Miss Jennifer Batista is one of the 2 GIS trainers. She is a very experienced geologist and has done a lot of work with GIS. Mr. Hunter Martin is the second instructor, also a geologist, and with a great deal of experience with this program. Most of you know that this is course number 3. We call it Agenda 3. So the lectures have been tested and improved, and we're quite confident that we will meet the goals of the course. So what are the goals? We are aware that many of you have already used GIS in the past and have some knowledge. Some of you have not had the opportunity, but we want to give you more self-confidence in using GIS and improve your skills, your knowledge, and most importantly, your independence, your ability to make the maps on your own. We will focus on your working area in central Indonesia and use examples that are relevant to your work in your offices that are located in this area. As you know, you have experienced many tsunamis. This is a tsunami map with a number of fatalities since 1900. The star indicates an earthquake-generated tsunami. The triangle is volcano-generated, the most recent being Anuk Krakatau, and the squares are landslide-generated tsunamis. This map was made in GIS, and you can see the power of the map, that it clearly displays the geography, the bathymetry, the tectonic features, and the the source type of the tsunami. At the end of this course, you will be able to make a map exactly like this on your own. We have a lot of experience with training in Indonesia, not only at the BMKG headquarters, but the ST-MKG College. Many of you have graduated from this college, and we're aware of your excellent background in science and technology. Normally, we would be holding the course in your region or in Jakarta. Unfortunately, as you know, because of COVID, we cannot. But you will be doing hands-on exercises, and these will be given to you by Jen Batista and Hunter Martin. So you have to practice what you learn. I don't think I need to emphasize it for this group, because you're very experienced and knowledgeable. You cannot learn without doing. So the emphasis will be on giving you the opportunity to do things. And who knows, if you really get very good, you may come and visit the USGS in California as a research scientist. We would love to have more visitors coming from Indonesia for research, training, and operational activities. This was a visit that took place now about a year and a half ago. So in conclusion, we're going to start the course very soon, give examples from your area, and provide you with the knowledge and experience you need to make very good GIS maps. Thank you very much. And I will stop sharing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Walter. Is it possible if I open discussion? Maybe there's a question from participant.
Yes, we can have questions for the participants. And don't forget, Madonna, we want to take screenshot of all the participants in the beginning. Picture, we need the picture.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Always forget.
Oh ya, kita silakan untuk di videonya di on kan terlebih dahulu ya, gitu ya. Karena kita mau take a picture. So a kind of a tree, give your best smile. So 1 minute. We have 2 slides. So 1, 2, 3. Give your best smile. One, two, three. Okay, done. Yeah, sorry, but I always forget about this one. Okay, maybe any question from a participant? Maybe do you want to know very deeply about this training? So please go ahead before we are going to the lecture time. No? Okay.
Later, there will be many questions. I'm sure the instructors will get lots of questions. So that will be great.
Okay. Pak Supi, are you ready?
Okay.
To be the discussion partner? Yeah, please, time is yours.
Makasih Mbak Dona. Thank you, Walter. Good morning and welcome to all of participants. Before we start, please can you write your name followed by your station. Okay. Yeah. As Walter said, that purpose of this training is to improve your knowledge and also your confidence about geographical information system. Today's agenda will followed by participants come from Java, Bali, and Lombok, and one from Ternate, and will teach or instructor today is Jennifer and also Hunter Martin. We start from 8 o'clock, maybe until 11 o'clock. After finish training session, we'll complete by assignment to measure your capability after the training. Okay, Jennifer, are you ready?
Yes, of course. Is everybody else ready? Anybody have questions?
Yeah, nice to see you, Jennifer.
Yes, nice to see you too.
Yeah, I think you will continue.
Okay, Very well.
Okay.
I'll get started.
Time is yours. Jennifer.
Okay. I'm going to turn off my video and share my screen. Okay. Can everyone see my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
It looks good. It looks very
Okay.
nice.
Very good. Welcome to Geographical Information Systems, GIS. This is going to be our Agenda 3. We are going to teach a little bit about the GIS, particularly the program QGIS. So this is just our intro. I'm going to go over a few things regarding QGIS, how to download it, and then a little bit about how the course is going to go. So QGIS, it is an open source program. It's available for public to use for free. That's why we like it so much, because it's free, right? Being that it is open source, it's always being upgraded, updated. People are writing, people are contributing things to it. So it's always getting better. We are going to be working pretty much with raster and vector data. So raster data is what you would see like your picture that you take with your camera, your phone. It's pixelated. And then vector data is made up of lines, points, and polygons. So I can just go over the website where you download it. So you are going to come to qgis.org, come to the download platform or to the download screen, and then you're going to pick your platform. I personally use Windows, so this is the one that's open. The best one to get is the standalone, the most long-term release and the most stable one, which is this 3.16. So you click here and you can download it. They also have for your Mac, Linux, and BSD, they also have apps for mobile and tablet as well, which is really cool. So if you can just come to this website, download the program for whatever platform you're using. A little bit on lecture materials. Everyone's logged into the LMS-BMKG website. We're going to be giving an assignment at the end of the course today that will be due at the beginning of the next course, so Wednesday before the course starts. All the lecture material is going to be available on this website. There's a forum there where you can ask questions, access step-by-step instructions. This PowerPoint, all of Hunter's material is going to be there as well. And then for your final assignment, because it's going to be on your Friday, that final won't be due until the following Monday. And also the lecture is available on YouTube. So if the step-by-step instructions are hard for you to understand, you can always watch this, see the tutorial all again in action. One thing I want to emphasize is create a folder for all your files. I know sometimes I have a bad habit of leaving things in different places and you can't find them. But so I just want to emphasize, make a folder, name it. I name mine GIS project. You can name yours whatever you want. So do we have any questions?
Ada pertanyaan? Any question? Jadi mohon kalau tidak jelas langsung tanyakan ya, langsung nggak usah malu-malu. Don't be hesitant to ask directly to Jennifer.
I have a question.
Sure.
I already installed the QGIS 2.18 version. Should I download the latest one, or is it okay if I use that version?
I would actually recommend getting the most recent stable version for the simple fact that there might be a few tools that we'll be using in this lecture this week that aren't available in one of the older older programs. So I would recommend upgrading for sure.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I have a question, Jen, this is Walter. In your experience so far, did people have trouble installing the program, or was it pretty much straightforward for everyone?
I haven't had anyone ask me any questions about installing the program. So either they didn't have any issues installing it at the start of the course, or they might have had it already.
Great. That sounds great. Thank you.
Sure.
Excuse me, Jennifer.
Yes.
I want to ask about, is it depend on the Windows version or not?
I'm sorry.
Depend on the Windows 7 or not?
The Windows
Yeah.
or
Might
what
be
else?
Windows 7 or Windows 10. Is
Oh,
it
okay. I understand what you're saying.
influence? Is it?
Let's see. It has a 32-bit version, so I imagine some of the older Windows.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. I don't think Windows 7 is supported. I think it's Windows 8 or up. So Windows
it?
8. Yeah, if you go up to the red label right there,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
right there,
Windows
Windows
7.
7 no longer supported.
Oh, yeah.
But does that mean that they have to download the older one?
You could try
what
an
that
older
means?
version of QGIS possibly.
Okay, yeah, that might be it. It would be. Is there an option to upgrade your Windows? Would you be able to do that?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Sure. Is there any more questions? Mohammed?
Miss Batista, thank
Yes.
you. I'm currently using ArcGIS for my work. Is there any specific tools that only exist in QGIS that we may use in this training?
You know what, Hunter would be the one that could answer that question. I did a little bit with ArcGIS, but not enough to know if there's any tools that are different. I think for the most part, this QGIS is going to be basic, and you will probably be able to do all your assignments with ArcGIS as well. But Hunter could probably answer more thoroughly.
Yeah, I mean, Jen kind of hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, most of the stuff we're doing is pretty basic, just basic stuff that's in ArcGIS and QGIS. So just manipulating DEM layers and stuff like that, inputting raster layers and modifying them. So yeah, I think you would be fine with ArcGIS. And if you have ArcGIS installed, feel free to use that, but we just wanted to use the free option, or show you the free option as well.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, excuse me. We hope the participant that have the question, please mention your name and your station first. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. You can continue.
Okay, well, that's a conclusion of the introduction that I wanted to give. So if there aren't any more questions, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Hunter so he can start teaching his lecture on raster data.
All right, hello everyone. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so this first lecture we're going to go over here is going to focus on the basics of raster data. And we're going to kind of use that, and we're going to create a topographic / bathymetric map within QGIS. Okay, so as Jennifer just mentioned, this is the site to download QGIS. We can skip through most of this because it's already been covered. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to bounce around here. So these are the data sets we're going to need. We're going to need a topographic bathymetric data set, and we're going to use a vector country boundaries layer. And so I'll just kind of click these and show you how to download them. So this is the site for GEBCO. And so what we have here is a map where we can download what's essentially DEM data. And the downloads we're going to download here are going to include both elevation points above and below sea level. And so the way we could do this here is that, as it's mentioning here, we can use the control key and the mouse button, and we can highlight certain areas. And so now we can see that input coordinates here on the left side. And we could actually even fine tune those coordinates if we wanted. So if we wanted specific extents, we could go in and we could do that there. The options you're going to want to choose, you're going to want to go in this grid column right here. And we're going to want to select GeoTIFF. And that's going to output the format in a GeoTIFF format, which is what QGIS can easily read. And then we could scroll down. And once we have our area of extent that we want, we could add that to a basket. And then we would go and we would view our basket and we would download the data set. Okay, so that's how to download the elevation DEM that we're going to need. The other layer that we're going to need is a country boundary layer to highlight the coastal boundaries of land masses. So to do that, we can click on the link here, and it's going to take us to a site here where we can download our area right here. We can click download, and that would download the data set. So if we jump into QGIS now, if we make a new project, this is what we're going to see here. And we can see that we have various tabs up here at the top. And we can see that over here on the left-hand side, we have what's essentially we can see our file systems. So all of our drives and then all of our files associated with it there. And then over here on the left, right here where my mouse is, this is going to be the area where we manage our layers. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to input our layers into QGIS. And so we have two different layer types here. We have a raster layer and we have a vector layer. So we're going to want to go to our layer tab up here. We're going to want to go to the add layer option. And then we can go to raster. You can click that. And you're going to want to click the three dots over here. And that's going to let us find the file in our file system. So wherever you saved it, that's where you're going to want to go and get it. So in my case, I saved it in this file folder here. And this is the option here. So I've selected it. Now I can click add. And we can see that it's pulled up on our map here. Now what we can do is we can go and add our other layer. So we can go to add layer, vector, and we can add our coastal boundary layer. So find your file, and you want to go in and you want to click the .shp file. That stands for shapefile. And it's going to be this one abbreviated CNTR. So we can add that. And once again, add. this dialog box pops up. It's essentially telling us that the coordinate reference system of this layer is in a different coordinate reference system, and that it's converting it to our current coordinate reference system. So in this case, all we have to do is click OK. And we can close this out. So now we can see that we have the outlines of coastlines, essentially. So we could go on our coastline layer. To get into the properties of the item, I like to right click and go to properties, and it brings up a property dialog box. You could also click your layer and click on the icon over here, and it'll bring up a symbology tab over here as well. For some reason, personal preference, I like to right click, go to properties, and have a box here. So if we click on our line here, we have a couple options. We can change the color, we can change the width, and there's various other options. For the time being, I'm going to change the color on this to black to highlight those coastal boundaries. And I'm going to bump the thickness up just a bit. And you can even type in to whatever value you want. Okay, so now we have all of our layers in. We want to get a colored elevation map. So to do that, we're going to click on our elevation layer here. We can right click it again, go to properties, and this is going to pull up the item properties for this layer. So under the render type, we want to change it to single band pseudo color. That's going to allow us to associate a color with the elevation points within it. We now see we have a color ramp option here. Oh, sorry. If we click on the, let me expand this a little bit so you might be able to see better. If we click on the drop down arrow, we have various options. If we go to create new color ramp and we go to catalog capital city and we click OK, we now get a lot more color ramps to choose from. And there's various options here, but there's actually already specific choices suited for topography and bathymetry maps. So I'm going to click those. And realistically, you could choose any one you'd like that would suit your needs. I like the GMT globe option, and I'll show you why here in just a second. So I'm going to select that and click OK. And now you'll see that if I classify it here, the value from lowest to highest for this color ramp is the 0 value is centered in the middle. So meaning if I had 1,000 feet of elevation and then negative 1,000 feet of elevation, 0, the green mark 0 here would be directly in the middle. But because I don't have even values on either side here, the 0 value is at almost negative 2,000. So to remedy that, what we can do is we can say, okay, we have a maximum low value here of around 72,000, or excuse me, 7,200 meters. We could set our maximum to 8,000 meters below sea level and set our maximum to 8,000 feet above sea level. And we can see that our intended 0 point here is now in the middle and it is green. So that's what we want. And we can see that if we apply this, we now have a color ramp associated with our area of interest. So we can make other adjustments here. One thing you'll note here is that typically green is associated with points above sea level. And we see that this green area here, it should be a shallow sea, but it doesn't necessarily reflect that in the map. So what we can do is we can edit this color ramp as we please. So what I like to do is set this 0 value. We can change the color on it. So if we double click on the green little icon here, it'll pull up a color wheel. What we can do is we can take this and you can move the mouse around and it will change the color. We can set this to a very, very light greenish color. And we can OK that. And that kind of more accurately reflects the change from shallow sea to land. And we could continue to modify this color ramp as we pleased if we wanted to. For now, I'm going to leave it as is, but there's various other aesthetic changes that we can make here as well. So now we have a color ramp and areas of pink to purple here represent deeper areas, and points of higher elevation, brown to white, represent areas of high elevation above sea level. The next thing we can do is we can create a hillshade layer to additionally highlight relief. So one possible way to do that, there's actually a couple ways to do it, but one way I like to do it is we're going to go to the Raster tab up here. We're going to go to Analysis, and then there's actually a hillshade option within there. So if we click that hillshade option, it'll pull up a dialog box. One thing we want to do, we want to make sure our DEM layer is checked. At this point, we have no other options, but if you did have other layers, make sure the layer with the elevation you're basing your hillshade on is checked here. We can leave band number as it is. Vertical exaggeration is gonna depend on, or Z factor here, vertical exaggeration is gonna depend on your specific area. You'll kind of have to play around with this number depending on what maximum and minimum heights you have in your area, but 2 to 3 is a good starting point. And then scale here. The value we're going to put in here is 111,120. And that's because our axes, our X and Y axes, are latitude and longitude, as you know, but our Z axes, or our elevation, is in meters. So we need to determine the ratio of horizontal units, latitude and longitude, to vertical units. In this case, this is the ratio here. And then also we can check compute edges, use this formula, and combine shading. So we have all of our options checked, and if we run this, we can see that we've now produced a hillshade image. Okay, that's great, but now we can modify this. Additionally, if we click our hillshade here, we can right click again and pull up the properties. And there's a couple options to choose from here. This value right here is the black to white value. So you can see that if I increase this value, so instead of 1 to 255, let's say 100 to 255, you can see that the image gets noticeably darker. I could actually increase this even more, and you can see that the image gets even darker. So this is going to highlight shadows a lot more, but once again, this is going to depend on your area. So you'll kind of have to play around with that value. We're going to set our blending mode to multiply. If we apply this, you can see that what that does is that it allows the layer below it, in this case, the color ramp layer, to appear on top of it. So essentially we can see both of these layers, but they've been combined as one layer. So that's going to allow us to show the color, but also show the relief associated with the hillshade. And then we have other various aesthetic choices. So we can increase our brightness if we wanted to. We can bump our contrast. You can see these changes that I've just made here. Actually, I'm going to turn the contrast down a little bit. I'm actually going to turn the brightness down just a bit. And the other thing we can do is we can set our resampling to cubic, and this will oftentimes smooth out some of the rougher terrain. But once again, this can vary based on your area. So this is all a starting point, but these numbers could be played around with based on your specific needs. Okay, so now we have essentially all of the layers that we need in here. I could now show you how, hypothetically, let's say this was the map we wanted to export. We can focus on Java here. If we were ready to create a final map product, the way we would do that is we would go to Project, and we would go to New Print Layout. We could type a title if we wanted to, but it's actually not necessary. So it's going to pull up this window here. And this window is known as the Map Composer. And if I use the scroll wheel, I can zoom in and out. I'm using a mouse. You could also do it on a touchpad if you're on a laptop. To input the map that we have up on our other QGIS window, we're going to click this icon right here. That's the plus with a map on it. If we hit that, we can click with the left mouse button and drag out a window. And so what this is going to do, anything that's shown on your QGIS window will show up in this Map Composer window now. But I can freely move it around and resize the box if I wanted to. So if I want to resize this box, I'm going to click this icon with the mouse button on it, and I can resize the box and move it around however I please. So if you have a map that's mostly horizontal and extends across the page, you could pull the map out farther, or if you wanted a more vertical map, you could extend the map up farther. Once again, just kind of depends on your needs and what you want to show. And then we can also use the scaling tool here, this icon right here. And you can use the map scroll or the mouse scroll wheel, or I believe it's 2 fingers on the laptop touchpad. And you can scroll in and out as you wish for whatever area you're trying to capture. So once we kind of have the general area we're interested in, we can go over to our map properties on the right over here. And we need to show a location for this area we're at. The way we could do that is we could go to grid. We could add a grid. So we're going to click the plus button here. And it's going to pull up grid 1. We can modify that. So we can choose our grid type. We can choose solid or frame only. In this case, I'm going to go frame only. I like to set my CRS or coordinate reference system to my project, which in this case is 4326 or WGS-84. I can set the interval of latitude and longitude units. So once again, this is going to depend on scale. So if you're at a closer scale, you're going to want lower intervals. If you're at a higher scale, you're going to want higher intervals. We can set our frame here. I like the zebra frame. And we can additionally draw coordinates. And we can get rid of these, in this case, useless zeros by decreasing coordinate precision. And I can actually see that there's quite a bit of numbers on the frame. So I'm going to bump this to 2. And this is kind of just a demonstration of how you can put numbers in and then play with them when you see the outcome on the map frame. Okay, so we have our coordinates on the frame. Additionally, if you wanted to, you could alter the font. There's a font button here. You can click that and you can adjust the font type. We can do Times New Roman if we wanted to. We could make it bold if we wanted. We could increase the size. And also we can modify the color if we wanted to. Okay, so at this point we can start to add basic map components. We could add a title if we wanted to. So, and the way I added a title, let me just redo that real quick, is I hit this text icon over here. It's the T button with a plus icon. And once again, just drag, make the dialog box, and we could go and we can modify it if we needed to make it bigger. You add text over here on the right. So in this case, I'll just put GIS example map for agenda 3. And I'm showing Java. Okay, one thing also in these map boxes, it doesn't have spell check. So just keep an eye on spelling errors and general grammar. We can once again go and adjust the font. So we can make it bold. We could change the font if we wanted to match our other fonts. And we can center this or just put it wherever you want. The other basic things we'll need is that a north arrow is a good idea. Even though we have a grid, the option is easy to put it in here. So I recommend it. To do that, it's simple. We just hit the little north arrow icon over here with a plus on it. And we can go and we can add that over here in the corner. That's pretty simple. Once again, if we click it, we can go to item properties and we have properties associated with that. We could change the arrow if we wanted to. There's various stock options, but you could even add your own custom north arrow if you wanted to. So if you had a custom image, you could add that. You could also add logos in this manner too. You could go to add image over here and you could add an image in a similar fashion. The next thing we're going to want is a scale bar. So to do that, over here on the left, there's a add scale bar option. If we click that and drag that box out, it's going to give us a scale bar over here. It's always a good idea to kind of put that in the corner, not to obstruct features you're trying to highlight. In this case, Central Java and this trench right here. And once again, we have options over on the right over here associated with the scale bar. So we have units. You could adjust those if you want particular units. We could multiply the units there, and we can make additional segments. So if I add segments here, you can see that it grows. Or I could even change the interval units. But in this case, I think I'm going to leave them at 100 kilometer units. We could also go and add a background for that. So if we click this background option here, that gives us a white frame, or excuse me, a white background, and then we can even add a frame too, if we click the frame option. Okay. So the next thing we're going to need is we're going to need a scale associated with the color ramp we're using here. So there's a couple options to do that. One option would be to use the add legend feature over here. That's this option right here. We could add a legend, uncheck auto update in the legend item properties. We're going to want to delete the hillshade and the vector layer. That leaves us with our Gebco layer. One thing we can do is we can double click the actual scale here. We can go and we can change the orientation here to horizontal. And we can increase the width here. And if we keep increasing it, we can see that it makes the color bar here increase. And we could also increase the height. Now this is one option, but there's another option we can do where we can use a series of rectangles to essentially do the same thing. It's a bit more convoluted, but I actually sometimes prefer it. So to do that, we're going to go to add rectangles. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. We're going to add a rectangle. Now make sure you click it. You're going to want to click on the style for that rectangle here. Click simple fill. And under symbol layer type, change that to gradient fill. Adjust the color ramp. And we're going to pick the same color ramp we used for our DEM color ramp. Sorry, you missed that probably. Click create new color ramp. And then we're going to select capital city again. We're going to find the same color ramp. So we use GMT globe. Click that and we can see that it made essentially the same color ramp. The other thing we can do is we can add another layer. And we can change this layer to simple outline. And we can change the color to black here. And we can change our stroke to, for now, we can just say 0.5. One's a bit thick. Let's go 0.5, yeah. If we go back now, we're still highlighted on the same rectangle. We can rotate this -90 degrees. And if we resize it, we can now see that we have essentially the same color ramp here. And we could even add additional points if we wanted to, or additional in-member lines. So the way I like to do that is go in, add a rectangle. If we click style here, we can click on simple fill again. So this time we're on this rectangle. We can change our stroke to simple line. Make it the same stroke width as the other rectangle, 0.5. And we want to make sure that this rectangle lines up exactly with this one. All right, and then the next thing we can do is we can add an additional rectangle. This time we're going to change the style on this one, simple fill, and we can simply set the stroke color and we can just set it to white. It just gives us essentially an invisible rectangle. And we can go in and we can just, the point here is to just cover up the bottom line. So essentially the same idea, just different paths to get there. And now we could add text for our elevation points here. So 8,000 meters. I can copy this and paste it so that I don't have to redo it, and then I just modify it slightly. And then I could also add a title for this if I wanted to. Make sure to indicate the units you're using. In this case, we're using meters. Oh, I spelled this wrong here. And then we could also change the font on this if we wanted to, additionally. Then if we wanted to, since these are individual pieces, if we wanted to move these as a whole, we can just highlight them all and move them wherever we desire. I actually prefer this bottom method here just so that I can individually modify components within the scale. This is a good option, but it just becomes a little tedious with the options you have to modify in the layers in the item properties. So I'm gonna leave this one that we made here. And then last but not least, it's important to include a text box for sources. So I would want to indicate where I got my topography data. So topographic / bathymetric data from GEBCO, and I could even include the website. I don't know it off the top of my head, but you could copy the URL and put it there. And then also we have the vector layer, coastal vector layer, and that's from ArcGIS hub. And you could also include a website there with a URL. Once again, these options don't have spell check, so keep an eye on that spelling. And then I could, if I wanted to, I could also include a frame around this. I could make this look real nice and fancy. The options are there. You can play with the font. You can adjust spacing of text. You can add backgrounds. The options are there, but the moral of the story here is that it's important to source your data and where you got it from. Lastly, the other thing I could do is the simple way to go about adding labels for this map would be to simply use the text option and add individual labels. I would want to highlight that this probably isn't the best way to do it, but the thing about this is an easy, quick way to add labels if you're making a single map. And the point of the labels in this case is to highlight major features. So we have the Indian Ocean. We can include labels for Java. And we could include we have the Java Sea out here. So I can include a label for the Java Sea. And once again, we have options for font. We can add a background, and then you could also decrease the opacity of the background to make the labels still readable. So they have a background, but they're not as harsh, so to speak. It's probably more apparent in this case. And I can size them as I please. Once again, there are other options for adding labels, but this is just a quick, simple, and easy way to add labels. And we could add labels for other features that we deem necessary. This is just an example. And then last but not least, don't forget to include a section for your name. And it's always good to throw in the date. So in my case, it's 8/8/21. And I can size this so that all that is visible. Okay, and so this is just a simple, effective, quick way to go about making a topographic bathymetric map with relief highlighted and exported in the map composer. Real quick, last thing, to export your map, you're going to want to go to layout, and there's a couple options here. You could export the map as an image. You could export it as a PDF. The options are all there. So you have various export options. I think in the assignments we asked for PDF, but like I said, various export options based on your needs. And I'd be happy to take questions now if there's any questions.
I have a question.
Sure.
When we working with the map, we modify a little bit the color ramp. But when we made the scale by the color, we just use the default one. Is there any option that we can save our modified color ramp and use it on the scale by the color?
Yeah, so that's actually a good point you brought up. If you did make your own custom color ramp, you could save it, and then you could choose that custom color ramp in the option for the color palette scale. I only modified it a little bit by one color, so I didn't do that, but that would be a good option to do if you modified it heavily or the modification was very noticeable. So yes, you definitely could do that, and that would be a good idea.
Any question? Maybe one question from me, Hunter. What is the recommended format of the when we save the image, the map? That still have high quality.
So for high quality, you could save it as an image. So if I go here and I save it as an image, it'll actually give you the option of what resolution you want. So if you wanted really, really high resolution, you could keep bumping this up as high as you want it to go, and the resolution would continue to increase. So if you wanted really, really high resolution, I'd export as an image. Otherwise, you could just export as a PDF if you were emailing it to a colleague or something like that.
Okay, thank you, Hunter.
Yeah, no problem.
Any question? Mungkin masih ada pertanyaan, silakan, please.
Mr. Rahadi, Pak Rohadi.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rohadi, Mr. Martin, for the presentation. My name is Arfan from Center of Earthquake and Tsunami BMKG. So I have two separate questions. The first question is, earlier you mentioned about vertical to horizontal ratio. I see that the value is about 1,000 and 1,100 and 111, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yes. I mean, how can you determine that value? And if we don't input the value, what is the effect?
Right. So that value is, first off, I'll say in this area, it's determined by latitude. There's a calculation. I don't know the calculation off the top of my head. I can find it though and get back with you on that. I looked ahead of time at this area, and I know that's the approximate evaluation. To answer your other question, if you didn't do that calculation, I can actually demonstrate what that would look like. So if we just use all the options that we used before, and we leave it at 1, assuming all of our scales are all the same. So our vertical scale is the same as all of our other scales. We can run this, and you'll see that you get a very, very distorted image. And that's because all of our units aren't the same. So we have to account for that.
Okay. So it's because the difference unit of projection between latitude and longitude and your elevation, right?
And depth, yeah, exactly. Or elevation, excuse me.
So you're saying if we're using the UTM projection, we don't need to do that?
Yeah, if you're using UTM, you don't need to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And for the second question, am I still allowed?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for the second question is, I've tried to download the data from the GAPCO website, and I got these two kind of GeoTIF file. So one with the range of Z value between 3,000 and minus 8,000, and the second one is has Z value between 0 and 44. So my question is, what is the map of the second map that we get from the GAPCO website? Is there any practical use that we can use the map for? Thank you.
I'm trying to pull up my GAPCO file here so I can compare it to yours. Yeah, I just got one map, so I'm not 100% sure.
Can I show you my? Can I show you my? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, oh, wait a minute. Can you see my computer screen?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, good.
So I got these two maps.
Okay.
And if I insert it in my ArcGIS, we get this one with the value between 3,000 and minus 8,000, and the second map has Z value between 44 and 0. So I assume that this one is the topographic and bathymetry value, and I don't know about this one.
Ini
Yeah,
dalam
so-
satu kali download ya?
Iya, Pak.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure on the 0 to 44 or whatever you mentioned, but to me, the other one sounds accurate to some degree. So I would likely use that one. I'm not too sure on the other one.
Okay. Thank you.
I know if you're using ArcGIS, I think they have an actual ArcGIS download option that may be better. Let me look real quick. Yeah, if you're using ArcGIS, they have a Esri. I want to say you can use the Esri ANSI too. I got to double check on that, but I would experiment with both of those file formats.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on ArcGIS, so excuse me there, but maybe try both file formats and see what you get.
I think that's enough for me. Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any question, or we will continue the next? Okay, I think we can continue. Hunter.
Okay, I'm actually going to hand the next lecture off to Jen, who's going to talk about vector data.
Hello, everyone. Are you guys okay to move forward? I know that the agenda calls for a break right about now, so I wasn't sure if you guys want to go ahead and take that, or we can just continue.
Yeah. I think we can continue, Jennifer.
Okay, very well, sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see my presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very clear.
All right, this is the lecture on vector data. So we're going to do a little bit of everything today. We're going to find data, we're going to download it, input it, and then we're going to style it to make it a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more informational. So this lecture is going to cover different vector data sets from shape files, delimited text files, and also we're going to have some lines. We're going to input country and regional boundaries. We're going to also use some volcano data. And then we're going to georeference a scientific figure from Hall 2009. This is actually the figure we're going to be using. And we can input a fault layer in that way. So the shape files, we're going to be getting the country and regional boundary labels. I've actually I really like this website, Natural Earth Data. They have quite a few different data sets from global country boundaries to small, sub-regions as well. And then, of course, we're going to get our volcanoes from Smithsonian Institution. So to start with our country boundaries, I'll actually show you the website we're going to be using. Natural Earth here. You just click on Get the Data. And then since we're going to be working in a smaller area and not so much of a large global area, we're going to stay in this 1 to 10 meter resolution. So the first data set that we want to download is going to be under the cultural tab. And what we want here is the admin 0 countries. So we're going to go ahead and click this tab to download the countries. And then we're going to go back to our downloads and we're going to click on the physical tab. And then we're going to scroll down to physical labels. And that way we can label some of our regions. So we're going to click on the download label areas there. So to pick up kind of where Hunter left off, we've got our map here. It's not as pretty as Hunter's, but I try. So he did mention when, excuse me?
Nice too.
Oh, good. So he did mention when he brought in his country boundary layer, one way is to go up to the layer and add the layer. And I wanted to show you guys another way you can do that. If you see right here on your left-hand side, you have access to the browser panel, and it'll actually let you toggle through the different trees or different folders that you have on your computer. And I have my GIS project folder open here, and I can actually just scroll down to the files. And as long as you make sure that it has this SHP as the format, that's the one you want. And you can actually just grab it and drop it in. And that's going to be our land layer for our countries. And then the sub-region layers is going to be the geography region polys. So that's this one. Yeah, whoa, that's really scary. That's okay, we're going to change it. So you can actually just toggle these on and off. And the first thing we're going to work in is our admin countries. So as you can see, it's going to show, when you scroll out, it's going to show all of them. So since we're only working in Indonesia, we can actually filter this layer. We can right click on this, go up to filter, and then it gives you a list of all the fields that are in your attribute table. And we're going to click on name and we're going to say all. And you can actually search in here to see if Indonesia is a name. Let's see. And it doesn't look like it is. Let's see here. Oh, we got to be in the wrong one. We're in the wrong one. Click on this one. On the countries, we're going to filter the countries by Indonesia. Click on name and then search here to make sure. There it is. So we're going to type an expression in here, guys, and we're going to tell it that there's only certain things that we want to show. We don't want to see the whole globe of countries. We only want to see Indonesia. So you can click on name, click on equals, only click equals once, and then click on Indonesia. And then you can test this to see if it's going to pull up anything. It actually does grab one thing. So that's what we want. And then you click OK. So now all we have is Indonesia there. And we're going to use this just as Hunter did as our as kind of like our boundary line for Indonesia. So you can use, I like to use my styling panel docked over here. It's a little bit different from the way Hunter does it. He likes to pull up properties and just see everything as a whole, which can be really beneficial if you want to toggle through many things. But I like to keep mine over here docked. And to do that, you can click the little paintbrush over here in your layers panel, and it'll automatically dock it. So for the country layer, we really like our topography. We worked really hard for those pretty colors. So we don't want this simple fill. So we're actually going to change it to simple line. And now we have our boundaries. And then we can actually go to the labels and we can tell it to label. And we're going to label it. There it is. Sometimes if things don't want to show up, it might be because your layers over here are in the wrong order. So we like the Indonesia. We want maybe just like a, where did it go? Okay. I like to put a buffer behind it. So it just kind of like makes it pop, gives it a little bit of a white background. So we have our country labeled. So the other thing we want to work on is our regions. And yeah, that's really scary, but we don't need any of this. We're actually just going to tell it no symbols. But we can still use the layer tab. And we're going to label it by the names. So now when we scroll in, we can actually see all the different labels. And for this one, I actually want to add a text buffer as well, so that you can actually see there's a little bit of a white background behind the name itself. So now we know where we are in the globe, and that's really cool. A little bit more that we want to do is we're actually going to input our volcano data, as I mentioned. So we're going to go up to the Smithsonian Institution here. And then we're going to do a volcano search under database. And then you can actually select the country that you want, so you don't have to pull up the entire data set for the globe. So just go and click Indonesia. And then search volcanoes. Okay, so we want to download the results. Unfortunately, it's only going to give us an Excel document, but we're going to have to actually export that to a CSV. And a CSV is something that QGIS can actually read and understand. And I'll show you how to do that. So you just click this, download results, and then it'll download. And you can go ahead and open that up. Is there a question?
Hello, any question?
Everyone understanding that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe one question, Jennifer.
Yes.
From the legend of the map, maybe in the before map you can, isn't the label can be moved?
I'm sorry?
Can we move the label?
You want to move the map?
You open the previous map.
I think he's saying, can we move the labels? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And you can go into the layer styling doc here, And there's a lot of different options here. And if you scroll over, you see these 4 little arrows here. You click on that and it'll give you a lot of different options on where you want to position your label. So if you have Java here and you want to move it, let's see, outside the polygon, it'll jump it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can increase your font on this. So if it's not quite big enough for you, you can make it a little bit bigger, but you have to sit there and play with it because it'll tend to move a lot of things around.
If we just want to modify one label, not all.
Okay, so you only wanted
just Java, for example.
You only wanted to say Java?
Yeah.
Sure, you can do that the same way we did the Indonesia. So you just click on your layer, go to filter, and then we know that this is in the name region. So we're gonna double click this. And then we actually wanna see all the different ones because you gotta make sure that you're in the right field. And sure, there it is. And then you can say equals Java. And then we can test it. It brings up 1. That's what we want. And then now you only have 1.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Ada
good.
pertanyaan, silakan.
Okay, so for the volcano data, we opened up our Excel document here. And it can't be an Excel document, it has to be a CSV. So you can save it, you can export it. I just save as, and then you can just change this to a CSV document and then click save. And now we can go back to our project and we have our CSV document. So we're going to go up to layer, add delimited text layer. Click on the 3 little dots. That'll take us to our folder and then our volcano list. Sometimes there's a header here and you have to make sure that if there's a header, you have to increase this. But it doesn't appear to have saved a header. A lot of times it can automatically detect what fields are what. And then if you want to change your Z field to elevation, and then make sure your geometry is the same as your project, just as Hunter had mentioned, we're using the 4326. And then click add. So we have a lot of dots that don't particularly look like volcanoes. We're going to change that. So come over here to our styling panel and then click on the simple marker. Whoops, click on the marker and you can actually scroll down and change this to a red triangle. That looks a little bit better. And then you can mess around with this if you want to change the size. You can change the size, or you can add an outline, a darker outline. But one thing that I really think is handy is actually labeling these. But unfortunately, if you label them, it can get really crowded. And, you know, not all these are active volcanoes. So one thing that I like to do is I actually like to label it by, if I want to know all the different volcanoes and when was the last time they erupted. And that's something that I think could be beneficial. So you can actually click on this little expression. You see the little E next to the volcano name? You can click on that and that'll bring up this expression dialog. And this expression dialog is really cool. It lets you make conditional statements. You can, do a lot more data filtering that's, not always available under the filter tab. So we're actually going to use a conditional statement today, and it's going to be case. And case is just that it's going to type something for us if something is true. So we're going to use the case conditional, and you can just double click it, and it pretty much brings up the actual statement, and then you just fill in what you want. So we're going to actually type here, and you can use your fields and values tab so that you can actually filter it by the actual field that you want. And we're going to say when the last eruption year, and actually there's a lot of fields in there, because there's not known eruption year, there's the word unknown, and we don't want that to be printed on the screen. So we're gonna make those values equal null. So we're actually gonna say equal, and double quotes are gonna be your field, and then single quotes are gonna be the actual text. So it's gonna look for any values that are equal to unknown. Oops. And we're going to make those values null. But then also when the last eruption year is greater than 1, because we want anything that was greater than 1 year, then under our result here, we're actually going to want a couple different things. We're going to want it to print the volcano name. Oops. And then anytime you want it to do more than one thing, you actually need to use this concatenate button, and that'll actually link a couple different things together. And then in here, we're actually going to put, if you put a \n, that actually will make it go to the next line. And we want it to have the volcano name on top and then the last eruption date on the bottom. So we're going to use that and then concatenate again. And then we want it to print the last eruption year below that. And that is our result. So we don't need the word result in there anymore. Okay. Okay, so does everybody understand this conditional statement? Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and click OK. And we're going to add a buffer so we can see those. And we're actually going to increase the size a little bit. And now you can see that only the volcanoes that have a known last eruption year have printed a label. And you can do this with many other different layers where you can go into the expression field and you can basically filter out certain things and tell it what you want to print and what you don't want it to print. Is there any questions with that so far?
Sorry, Miss. May
Yes.
I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Very nice presentation. I want to ask about is it possible to move the label one by one for arrange the right position that we want to make? Because I think if I show your map, it's it's so many label that
Yes.
that have a closest position. Thank you.
I'm not 100% sure if you can actually move them one by one, but if there's one specific volcano that you want labeled, you can, again, you can go in and you can, change this expression to say if this volcano name is this, then label, you know, you can filter it by each label that you want labeled if you don't want all of them labeled, if it's a little bit too overwhelming or crowded.
I'll jump in real quick too. I know you can physically move the label too by using, it's the ABC icon with the arrow
Oh, this
on
one?
the toolbar. It's up on the toolbar,
Oh, this guy?
to your right.
Okay.
ABC with an arrow,
ABC. Oh, okay, here?
right there, yeah. Yeah, it is
Okay.
possible to move it with that.
Oh, really?
And you can individually move it, yeah.
So you just click on one and move it?
Yeah, you click it.
Okay.
I believe you hold the left click button.
Select a primary key to use for joining internal data storage.
I thought that was the button, but regardless, there is a way to move them manually. I believe it's that button, but there is
Rotate.
a way to do it manually.
Let's see, there's change, rotate, show hide labels, pin, unpin labels. Okay, I'll have to mess around with this and I'll get back to you. Or if you guys figure it out, let me know. That's totally awesome because I would really like to know how to do that. I've messed around with it and you get one label too far to the left and then the other ones start, you know, going off. So for sure, I'll look into this. Is that the only question?
Iya, silakan kalau ada pertanyaan.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is it possible if I use the different color for the triangle with what if my like active volcano I want to color it red, but the others non-active volcano I want to color it black by using the filter that you showed us before?
So just color one, but not the others?
No. I mean, like you can show the name of the volcano by select by the last eruption. But is it possible if I change the color by using the filter that the last eruption as well? I mean, like,
Oh,
do you know?
oh yeah. Yeah, you can actually use this. I believe it's categorized? And you can use the last eruption year and you can change the colors that way.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Was that your question?
Yeah, that's my
Okay.
question.
Very good. One other thing that I did want to go over, you guys, before we move forward is we're going to, let's see, just one second. My thing is thinking here. Okay. So plugins are really great. I found that you can have a whole list of different plugins to choose from just by going to manage and install plugins. And for this tutorial, I want to show you guys a whole list of base maps that are available. And I already have it installed, but I'm going to go through and show you where it's at. Okay, so the actual one that we want is called Quick Map Services. And you're gonna install this plugin, and then it's gonna, and then you're gonna go to your web tab up here, and then you can get more services, and it's called a contributed pack. And the contributed pack comes with a whole bunch of different plugins to choose from. And I actually have put a step-by-step instruction on the LMS website for you guys to do that. And I'll just show you what I'm talking about here. Can you guys see these? So you have access to Google, Esri. I like OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is a good one that I like to have. And I'll just show you, for instance, the OSM standard. If you don't have your GEBCO on, this is what you get. So it's kind of nice to see, you know, an actual map that gives us, you know, some labels, some roads, that sort of thing. And it's a base map. And I believe you do have to be online in order to access this map. But we're actually going to use this map in our next task here. And if you guys don't have any more questions, then we'll go ahead and move on. So one thing that's really important as well, you know, you can access volcanic data, earthquake data, tsunami data, that sort of thing. A lot of times you can get it real time. So, you know, anytime the website's updated pretty quickly. But one thing that I found is really difficult is getting fault data. And there's some different data sets out there I've tried to download, but they're really busy, and you know, some of them don't actually show subduction symbols and that sort of thing. So I just want to show you one quick way to input fault data from you know, like a scientific paper, kind of like this one that we have here. This is from Hall, Robert Hall, and he made this figure back in 2009. So we're actually going to use this figure in our map, and then we're going to make these fault lines ourselves. So I'll just show you how to do that. So we're going to go up to raster layer and then georeferencer. And then we want to click on this little raster button. And I have put the Hall figure on the LMS website for you guys to use, okay? Okay, so here we are. So the first thing we're gonna do is we have to make GCP points. So what we're gonna do is actually click a place on this map and then select the same exact point on our OpenStreetMap, because this is a figure, this is a JPEG, so it doesn't even have any spatial data to it. So if we were to try to input this into our map, it wouldn't know where to go. It doesn't know I need to be over here covering Indonesia. It won't know that. So we're going to make it know. So we're going to click this little green button here. Did I do that already? Okay. So it brings up this transformation settings, and make sure that your target SRS is the one that we're working in our project. And then you're going to make sure to check this load into QGIS when done, because that way when we get it all done in GeoReference, it'll automatically come into our map. And then click OK. And then you have a little pointer here, and you can zoom in and zoom out, and you can just select different points and try to zoom in and select a point that's obvious, like this itty bitty point right here we can select. And then it's going to prompt us. We can either type in the coordinates, or we can say from our map canvas. And then we can scroll in to the same point and select it here. So now we have a point, okay? And then all of our points will start adding up in our table. And we want at least 5 or more to make it as accurate as possible. And so we're just going to keep clicking points from map. And you see as I am clicking these points, they're saving. And we'll get one more. And if you want to move the map, if you hold the space bar down, it turns into your little mover guy, and you can just move around and then zoom in again. Okay, so we've got 5 points now, and we're going to go ahead and click this triangle button again. And now it's done. So here's our figure, and it looks to be placed correctly into our map. But just to double check, we can actually come over here and select the global opacity, and we can kind of make it a little bit more transparent so we can see how the boundaries look, and they look pretty good. Is there any questions so far?
Any question? Jennifer, what is the format of the map file?
The figure,
Yeah.
it was a JPEG. I included the picture on the LMS website for you guys to use for this project.
Is it possible if we have other format?
I believe so. I believe you can. Yes.
Or it is need a certain format? No.
What's that?
Or we need a certain format?
That's a good question. I will look that up and I will post that answer in the forum as soon as we get done here.
I'll jump in real quick. It doesn't have to be a JPEG. It can be a PNG, any other image file format. One thing on georeferencing though, that is really important, the higher resolution image you can get, the better, because then you can zoom in more and more accurately map or trace it to the map area. So in general, the higher resolution, the better.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. I know you can use different images, but I don't know if there's specific ones that you have to use or you can't use, and I can find that out for you. Okay, so now we have our figure here, and we want to use these fault lines. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create our own shapefile layer, and we're going to trace these lines, and we're going to save them as our own layer, and we can use this layer in other projects. So we're going to come up here to the new shapefile layer, and it's going to ask you to name it. We can go to the folder that we want to name it to, and I'm just going to name it fault example. And then the geometry type is going to be a line string, and then it is in the correct CRS there. And then we're going to click OK. And then you have to click on the little pencil. This little pencil turns editing on and off. And then we want to select our add line feature. And then it's going to give us this little target. So if we want, say, Java Trench in our map, well, then we can just scroll in and we can just left click. And every time you left click, it's going to create a vertex. And then you just keep left clicking. And it'll just keep adding your line. And you follow it all the way down. And you can zoom in and you can make it, you know, as accurate as you would like. The more accurate, the better, since it's halls. And then to end it, you right click. And then it's going to pop up with the ID, and I'll just name this 1. And you can use your space bar and scroll. And maybe we want to trace the Wetar thrust here. So we can start another line. And just keep tracing it. And then we want to end it, right click. And then this will be our second one. So we'll just label it 2. And then the more trough, we can start labeling or adding vertices to this line. And then right click when we're done. And then we'll just call that number 3. Okay, so now we have 3 lines. We're going to go ahead and save these 3, because these 3 are the ones we're going to do in this demonstration. And then toggle off our editing, because we don't want to make any more accidental lines. I've done it and it's no fun. So now we have these 3 lines, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off, if you can see them now. Okay, so for our hall paper, you see that the subduction here has the little teeth. And so we want to symbolize this line, you know, to show that it's a subduction line. So we're going to select this symbol and we're going to say it's categorized. And we're going to select by its ID because we named it a couple different ones, 1, 2, 3, and select classify. So we don't need this one. We can just delete it. So number 1 is the first one that we did. So we're just going to select the symbol. And then we want it to just be a black line. And then we actually want to add a marker line. So that's what's going to give us our triangles. And then the simple marker that we want is not the circle, it's going to be a triangle. So we're going to select the triangle there. Does everybody see that so far? And we don't want them red, we want to keep them black. And then our simple line, we want to increase the stroke width a little bit. You can increase the size of the teeth. And also you can increase the interval. So we don't want a whole bunch of triangles all smushed together. So this interval will actually spread them out. We'll just leave it at about 6. And then do you see how the base of the triangle isn't quite sitting on the line? Well, if you come down here to line offset, you can actually play with this one until it goes the other way, until it goes right to the line where we want it. Does everybody see that okay? So if we actually want to look at it, what it looks like with our topography, now we have a nice fault line here. And if we want to label these, you can actually right click and open our attribute table. And then you can, again, toggle your little pencil on. And then there's it's hard to see, I'm sorry, but there's a little button right here that says new field. And we're going to just say it's the name. And the length of it, we can call it, I don't know, 20. And then we're going to say that it's going to be a text field. So now we have a place where we can name everything here. The first one is the Java trench. And then the second one was, I believe it was Wetar. Was it Wetar? Well, no. Oh, I need to increase this. Okay, I'm just gonna, you guys need to increase the amount of figures that you can put in there, so you can type it a little bit longer. Okay. Whoops, hold on. Okay. So now if you want to label it, we can go through and we can label those. So I already have one that I've made earlier, and I'll go ahead and show you. So I did the same as the hull, and I did the thrust on the Wetar thrust here has the open triangles. So you can see this. On the simple marker, I did 0 fill color. And then on the Timor trough, I just did the little squares. So for simple marker, I just selected this square here. And then for the labels, you can just label the name, add the text buffer, and then now you have your faults in there. Is there any questions?
Any question? We have 5 minutes before break. Second.
Excuse me, Miss.
Yes.
I wanna ask a question about the expression that you used to filter. Where we can learn about the meaning of the expression like quotation marks or equal marks in the expression.
Yes, sure. Okay, so when you, let me just show you really quick. If you right click on the layer and you go to the attribute table, there's a lot of data in here that tells you about this layer. And each field has a field name, and then it has data or values attached to that specific field that match with each individual volcano. Okay. And so when we go into our expression builder, anytime you have a double quote, that's actually going to be the name of the field that we have here. And you can drop down this tree of fields and values, and you can see all the different fields that are located in that specific layer. And anytime you want to filter by the field, then you're going to use double quotes. And actually, you can just double click on these fields and it'll automatically come up with the double quotes. And then if you want more information about the field while you're in this expression dialog, then you can click on something and you can select all unique, and it'll give you the different values that are available in that field. And then when you double click on this one, it'll automatically come up in single quotes. So the single quotes are the text string that's located in that field, and the double quotes is the name of the field. And then, so if you want, for instance, last eruption year, if you say all unique, these are all the data for that specific field. These are all the years. And null will not appear. It'll automatically just nix that one out. But you notice that there is this value unknown, and we didn't want that to print on our map. So we had to specifically tell it that if it is equal to unknown, then null, and null's just gonna basically skip over it and not print it. And then when the last eruption year is greater than 1, so basically any values that are greater than 1, so 1699 and up, will print. And then you tell it what field to print for that particular point. So each volcano is attached to a volcano name, and so it'll print the volcano name on that point. And then when you use this single quote \n, that's just telling it to go to the next line. So that is a code that we use to go to the next line. Did you have any more questions about that? Or did that answer your question?
Yes, I think.
And I'm always available. You can post questions in the forum, and I can always help you after the session's over as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I think it is time, and we will continue after 10:20. Yeah.
Sure. Sounds good. I will see you in 20.
Yeah. And more 20 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, very well. I'll see you in 20 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Oke, silakan beristirahat dulu. Mungkin yang belum sarapan atau minum kopi, kita lanjutkan pukul 10:20 ya. Oke, terima kasih. Sampai ketemu lagi.
Terima kasih, Pak.
Jennifer.
Terima
Ini peserta masih online nggak ya? Libur itu hari apa ya? Ada yang bisa komen?
Tanggal 11 kalau nggak salah Pak, jadinya diubah.
Ya,
Ini
tanggal
jadi
11.
training kita jadinya yang kedua hari apa? Tanggal 11 itu
11.
Rabu ya?
Iya Pak.
Nah, ini gimana? Nanti diskusi dengan Mbak Dona ya. Apakah
Oke,
tetap
siap.
atau ada perubahan gitu. Nanti mungkin bisa disampaikan ke worker juga.
Oke Pak.
Nah, tapi harapannya kalau memang tidak ada apa-apa gitu ya, kita tetap saja hari Rabu agar nggak harus repot mengatur jadwal ya. Oke, makasih, itu saja. Mungkin bisa didiskusikan dengan yang lain.
Were you trying to talk to me, Walter?
There was a long period of silence, and I was just wondering why it was so quiet.
Oh, everybody decided to take a break.
Oh, I must not have been paying attention. What time are we starting again?
Probably in about 15 minutes. I think it was maybe 5 minutes ago.
Oh, okay, that explains everything. I thought that maybe people were trying a exercise. Great.
Oh.
Okay, so 15 more minutes would put that at around 8:15. Or did you choose a time to reconvene? A
He
specific
didn't
time?
actually, no, he didn't specifically say, he just said, let's take a break for 20 minutes.
Okay, all right. So we have 5 minutes more to go, 15 minutes more to go. So I'll see you in
Yeah, probably
8:17.
about that.
It's
Sounds
all
good.
going well. Congratulations. It's all going
Thanks.
great.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Welcome. So we're almost about to restart.
Yeah. I think so. Halo, participant, ready to continue the session?
Ready, Pak.
Now ready. Okay. Please, Jennifer.
Hello,
Hello.
is everyone back on?
Yeah.
Everybody get their coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also my breakfast. Yeah.
So if everyone is back on, I can continue.
Yeah, I think we can continue.
Okay, I just have a few more things to show you and then we'll close up here. Let me share my screen. Okay, so while we were on break, I did want to try to figure out how to move the label, as one student had asked. And just as Hunter had mentioned, if you click on this little ABC with the arrow, it says move a label. And when you click on that, and then you actually put your crosshairs on the label that you want to move, like maybe this one, I don't like that it's covering up the volcano. So you can actually click that, and can you see it has like a little square? Can you see that? It's green, so it's hard to see. So I can basically just plant it wherever I want. So I can just move it a little bit up or a little bit down, and then just click it there, and then it moves. Did everyone see that?
Okay.
So yes, you can move the label individually.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss.
Yes, you're welcome, and thank Hunter. He figured it out. So, and that's awesome. I'm glad that you asked that question. Okay, so one thing that I do want to share with you guys is putting in all these fault lines is a lot of work. You have to go in and manually style, the teeth. The wetar is the opposite direction. If you can see that, let me turn off my volcanoes here. So they're actually pointing down instead of pointing up. And in order to get that, you actually have to go to the marker, and then right here where it says rotation, you're going to type in 180 degrees. So then that'll just flip them around. So if this was at 0, then it turns them upward. Does everyone see that? It makes them kind of smaller. So if you want the teeth to be facing the opposite direction, then you have to type in 180 degrees here. And now that we have all of our fault lines designed and everything, and one thing about styling is if you don't save this style, then the next time that you decide you want to use this layer, it's just going to be real small, simple lines again. It's not going to save this. But if you want to use this particular layer in another project, then you can actually save all your styling features here, and they'll stay, and you can use it again and again. So in order to do that, you right click on the layer here, and you go to properties. And then you're going to go to this little brown paintbrush here that says rendering. Or actually, I guess it's on any of them. Sometimes if you look down at the bottom, you can actually see on all the different ones is right here. But I found on the layer rendering here, you click on style and then save as default. Does everybody see that? And then just click apply and OK. So now if I decide I want to open up another project and I'm going to add my fault layer in there, it'll come in here with the same exact style lines, the subduction teeth, the labels, everything will be included. And same goes for your DEM, you know, any of your layers. If you really like how you styled it, you put a lot of time and energy into it, you can do the same for your layers as well. Is there any questions on that?
I have a comment more than a question.
Okay.
The focus of attention today is on QGIS, not on geology, but you can't help but notice that the fault, the Java Trench fault, looks very accurate in offshore Western Java, but it kind of deviates away from the actual trench. Yeah, right there. Yeah, it needs to go. It needs to be moved further south.
Okay.
Well, it's just, I'm just looking at the bathymetry.
Oh.
It's not because I know that it has to go further
Oh.
south. It's because I can see that it has to go further south.
Right.
But we're not really talking. Well, I think the lesson, the point that I'd like to make to the audience is that in GIS, even if you have a layer, it doesn't mean that that layer is fault without any fault. You should always, like any activity, you always have to evaluate accuracy of information you're given.
So with that being said, I'm pretty sure that there's a way to move this. Like for instance, you see this vertex is like maybe a little bit too high.
Yeah.
And I believe you can do that by highlighting or selecting the layer and then toggle the editing. And then there's this little vertex tool, and you can click on the vertex tool. And I believe you can highlight that particular corner and then like pull it down.
Right.
There.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a good point, Walter. If you ever feel like you need to come back in here and make adjustments, you definitely can do that.
Very good question. Yeah.
Because I believe that the information available when that fault boundary was created as a digital file, the information was less accurate than what we have today. And it's kind of a the old boundary where people thought it was, but it's obviously, we know, we can see it. We can see things better today than we could 20 years ago.
Yes, and that's a good point. If you're going to use this particular figure, which is kind of old, it's from 2009, and you know, you want to use the figure just as a base, and then you can modify it. And when you actually go in and you know, make your map, just write in there that you used Hall 2009 and you modified that, so that to show that you did move some things around. It's not actually Hall's figure. Does that make sense? What's that?
Maybe you can repeat one more. Maybe from the east part.
These down here?
Can you repeat one more? Yeah. Over there, yeah.
How's that?
What that we have to click first?
So when you highlight your layer,
Yeah.
and then you turn the little, you remember the little pencil I talked about that's toggle editing?
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to turn that on. And then there's this vertex tool, because each time that we made a point making this line, we selected points all along the line. And so you can actually click on the vertex tool and then select, all you have to do is hover over the line and it'll tell you where all the vertexes are. And then you just select that particular line or that vertex. And you can move them, you can delete them. Sometimes it shows, I don't know if you can see it, but it'll show like a little plus sign where there's not a vertex, and that just means you can add one there. So for instance, you need a little bit more of a corner or something and you want to add one, you can actually add one as well. So there's a lot to do here. Even when you make your line, it's not necessarily permanent. And then remember that once you make these edits, you have to go back and you have to save it, just as I showed you earlier.
Okay, I think
How's that look? Maybe this one over here needs to be moved a bit.
yeah,
Yes, you can see it has to be down in the trench. That's
yeah.
where the plate goes beneath the continental margin.
And then there's also, let's see. I thought I'd seen a little curvature. But you can add one here, and then that will help kind of like pull it down into a curve there.
And then we need to click the save. Oh,
Yeah, you need to click the
automatically.
save.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's that little save button right here. And not just that, that will save it right now in this project. But again, if you want to use this particular layer in another project, or maybe you want to share it with someone, then you have to go back to your properties and then save as default here.
Mhm.
Yes. Does that make sense?
Excuse
Yeah,
me, Jen.
Yes, sure.
I think the process of the reference must be have high risk, because when we put the point 5 point or 4 point, we must take the point in the corner, because for the corner because this is make the rotation is very high risk. I'm sorry, my English is very bad, but can you understand me?
So you inputted your figure into your project already?
Yes, when
Okay.
earlier when we do the georeferencing, we put the 4 points, right, and coordinate, right?
Uh-huh.
Now the 4 point, I think the 4 point must be spread on the corner every picture and maps. So that makes the rotation must be limit, and then the process digitizing must be lebih baik. Apa ya?
You have to
Yeah,
make
akurat.
sure that you're zooming in on, so for instance, our topography map here is not a good map to use because we can't really see, you know, all the actual corners and everything. So that's why I had you guys load in the OpenStreetMap.
Okay.
So
Yes.
if you use this one, then it'll be a lot easier to actually go in and, you know, mark your point here.
Yes.
And if your figure comes in and it looks like a little bit twisted, is that what you mean? Like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
square? Then it may be that some of those points may be a little bit off. And,
Yes.
you know, like your residual, you can always go back and delete those points and redo them again. So, but the best thing to do is to actually go in and just, you know, pick out these individual features that are unique, like a point right here, and make sure you select that same exact feature of land on both your map and the figure.
Okay.
So try that, and if you're still having issues, then I'll be available to answer your questions, and I can even, you know, have a Zoom with you, and you can share me your screen or whatever. So yeah, just try to do that. Try to use this. Were you using this map, or were you using the the digital elevation map.
Okay.
I'd also like to add this suggestion. 5 points is good, and we just use that for this demonstration. But actually, if you could add more points, the more points you have, the more accurate your georeferencing is going to be.
Yes,
So
for
if you
sure.
can add more points and space them out over the course of the image, you're going to get a more accurate georeference.
I'm sorry. Do we have to use the original file? For example, Jen used whole JPEG file. Do we have to the original, or is there difference if we use between the original file or and snipping tool? Is there a difference, or especially the accuracy? Thanks.
So as far as bringing up the image and screenshotting it and using that image, I don't believe there's any difference. I think they're both going to be a JPEG image. What do you think, Hunter?
The only thing I would say is that resolution may be an issue there. I would say if you are going to snip it, try and zoom in as close as you possibly can. That way you can get the highest resolution, if that makes sense. Because if you're too far
Right.
out, you're going to have a lower resolution.
Yeah, I think that what this discussion shows us that after you do something, you should evaluate how reasonable is the result. Does the result look really good? It's possible that in some data file, there's a volcano that doesn't exist. Somebody made a mistake and they typed in a latitude and longitude and put a volcano, you know, in Kalimantan or something. It's just a mistake.
Right.
Mistakes are, even if they're at 1% of the database, when a database has thousands of entries, it's possible to have either a mistake or a simplification.
Right.
So it's good to be skeptical, a little bit skeptical. Don't believe everything you read.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So any question, or we can continue? Yeah. Okay. I think next.
Java Trench looks great now. Looks wonderful. Wow. So satisfying to see it.
Yeah.
Right at the plate boundary, in the deepest part of the seafloor, marking the boundary between the upper plate, continental plate, and the subducting Indian Ocean lithosphere.
Okay, so I guess I can go back to my presentation and we'll close and we'll talk about the assignment that's going to be due first thing Wednesday morning.
Mhm.
So we would like you to make a map similar to what we just created right now with Hunter demonstrated really nice global relief map. He showed you how to use the print composer where you can add your map, your legend, your sources. Make sure you add all the sources, including the ones that I put in. You know, we had Hall 2009, Smithsonian Institution for the Volcanoes, and then the boundaries are from Natural Earth. So we want you to pick the area, either Java, Bali, or East or West Nusa Tenggara. And we've actually included the extents for these regions so that you can use those. And the map needs to have a nice topography, bathymetry. It doesn't have to be necessarily exactly the same color ramp that Hunter used. You can be creative as long as it, you know, it's nice, it makes sense. and then also include the hillshade layer so that we can see a little bit more of the features and the topography. Include the vector layers, georeference that Hall 2009, make your fault layer, make sure that you have the correct symbols for subduction, the thrust, and then the volcanoes and boundary layers. You can label whichever particular area or region that you're in. I showed you guys how to filter those, or you can use an expression to label the certain ones that you want to label. You don't have to necessarily label all the volcanoes exactly the way I labeled them. You can be creative and label them how you would like. And then make sure you have a title, your name and the date, and then scale, north arrow, and then Hunter showed you how to put a nice grid on there with coordinates. So do we have any questions with that?
Halo, ada pertanyaan terkait tugas?
So, so Jen, what would you estimate the amount of time to complete assignment 1? How much time should people budget to do the job?
I would definitely allot a good 2 to 4 hours if you're new at it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of, getting the topography, the bathymetry colors just right, just the way you want them. It does take time to, you run into those hiccups with the georeferencing, and you might have to change your points to make it more accurate, the fault lines. There's a lot of editing in there where you have to mess around with the offsets, the stroke width, the sizes, that sort of thing. So it does take time, and I want you guys to actually, put your own imagination into it. It doesn't have to look just like Hunter's or mine. You can make it how you would like. So I would definitely, give it a good couple hours for sure.
Yeah, I think doing it in 2 hours would be a very fast pace, and I agree with you. 2 to 4 hours is a good estimate. 4 hours may take, a lot of people might need 4 hours to correct a mistake and to improve the image.
Yeah, might be 5 hours for newcomer.
Yes, I was just gonna say it depends on if you're new to QGIS. Of course, it's gonna take a little bit more time, and that's okay. You guys have until Wednesday I wouldn't start it, Tuesday night. You can start on it today, and that way there's a lot of time for asking us questions. You guys understand that we're on different time zones, so while you guys are pounding away at your map, we're sleeping. So, in order to allow some time for us to get back to you on questions and that sort of thing, start them today, get going on it, get all those little things ironed out, because you will run into some issues here and there for sure.
Yeah, and I think the participant can repeat the tutorial you can see on the YouTube. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
okay.
can
You
watch
can
this
pause.
video again. Mhm.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
What kind of file do we collect the first assignment?
So as
I'm
far
sorry,
as
go ahead,
turning
Jen.
it in,
Yes.
okay. Yes, you're going to go ahead just as Hunter had instructed and export it as a PDF, and then you can upload that onto the LMS website. And this assignment, it has a lot more detail as far as the different things that we want included on there is also listed on the LMS website. So you can go ahead and open that up, and then there's extents for all these different regions that you can use for your maps, and then the basics of what we're requiring. And actually, this is going to be a rubric, a nice rubric that I would really like you guys to keep in mind as you're completing your assignment. This is how we're going to be looking at your maps and grading them. So we want to make sure that all the data and features are included that are listed on the list. We want the map to be legible and accurate. So you need to always make sure, double check those little things like, does the elevation color bar look right? That sort of thing. What creativity and style. I really would like to see you guys, make it your own, make it different. It doesn't have to be just like mine or Hunter's. It can be your own style. That's excellent. And then make sure you submit it on time so you can get full points for that. Of course, we start docking points as they get late. And the LMS website, like I said earlier, you can get on there. There's step-by-step instructions of all these different tasks that I taught today. Hunter as well has uploaded his PowerPoint with all the different details on how to do the topo and bathymetry that he demonstrated earlier today. So there's a lot of resources out there for you.
Yeah, I think you have to do the best you can. Do, yeah.
Yes.
Any final questions?
Ya, silakan. Jadi kalau ada pertanyaan jangan disimpan. Don't be hesitate to directly ask to Hunter or Jennifer.
Walter again with a simple question. In the previous training last week and the week before, were there cases where people were unable to get their computer to cooperate, where they were unable to complete the assignment for an unknown technical reason, or was that not the case?
I'll speak
go
for
ahead.
my group. I had no one report it to me. So not that I know of, no.
Okay, well, that's a pretty stable program. How about you, Jen?
Same as Hunter. I'm not, I didn't have anybody, email me or tell me that they couldn't get anything to work. So I'm pretty sure everyone turned in their assignments that were in the course.
I used to tell my teachers that when I didn't do the assignment, I would tell the teacher that the dog ate my map. That's a joke. That's a joke. Blame it on your pet. All right.
Yeah, if anyone has any more questions or if anything's not clear, we're here, we can demonstrate.
Yeah, and if anybody does have any questions, feel free to put them in the discussion on LMS. We're somewhat pretty active on there, so we'll try and answer your question as fast as possible.
Iya. Bu Madonna, halo Pak Madonna.
Iya Pak.
Sampai jam berapa ya? 11.
Iya. Sudah
Terus
selesai.
masalah itu dengan Walter gimana? Ini kita itu libur hari Rabu ya?
Iya. Tanya sekarang aja kali Pak ya.
Ya oke. Walter, there is something that we need to discuss about the time for day 2.
Time for
Madonna.
which?
Silakan Pak Madonna.
Yeah, because we can meet again in the second day in the second day in July 11. But based on our calendar, July 11 is holiday because it's the Islamic New Year Day. So do we track on schedule, or maybe we can replace in another day? So do you have a suggestion?
Okay, so you mean August 11.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. August 11. Sorry, Walter. Yeah. Because August 11 in our calendar is holiday.
Yeah, so I think we can have the lecture on the day following. Let me just check with Jen and Hunter. What do you guys think? Is that okay? Go on August 12?
That'll work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So Jen, what is August 12th? Do you have, I'm not looking at a calendar.
Well,
That would
for
be,
them, it's a Thursday, but us would be the Wednesday night.
Oh, okay, so that's not a problem, I guess, right?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
Okay, so in August 11, let's see, now is your August 9.
Yeah. Wednesday.
And so August 11 is not possible.
Yes. Yes.
So we will do August 12.
Yes. Okay.
There'll be 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
have to do 12 and 13.
Yeah. Baik.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. In my perspective, I think it's not problem.
okay.
Gak apa-apa ya. 2 hari berturut-turut ya teman-teman.
Sampaikan aja format, Pak. Coba silakan umumkan.
Ya. Mungkin buat teman-teman nanti kita ketemu lagi hari Kamis ya jam 8
Oh,
karena
so this means for Hunter and Jen, we're not meeting again. We don't have responsibilities again until Thursday or Wednesday night. Wednesday night. Today's Sunday and next time is Wednesday. Okay.
okay,
Wednesday and then Thursday.
that
Right.
works
Yeah,
for me.
Wednesday.
Or US time. We're talking, we're in our discussion, we're talking US time because we're 1 day different. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, it's okay. We take at August 12th. Yeah, Walter. We can
August 12th. Next one is August 12. Today is August 9 and the next lesson is August 12.
Yes.
Kita
1, 2.
tanggal, Mbak.
August 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
Oke, teman-teman kita akan ketemu lagi mungkin karena tanggal 11 libur, jadi kita mulai tanggal 12 ya. Nggak apa-apa ya 2 hari berturut-turut ya, berarti harus lebih ekstra. Oke, ya.
Makin lama mengerjakan itu tugasnya kan ada ini 2 hari ini sampai Kamis ya.
So, Madonna, when we
Yes.
go to the attendance list, unless you enter the signature, you cannot send the message.
Oh,
It's locked.
we-
It's locked.
oh really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
that's why we haven't been registering.
Yeah.
'Cause,
But
not
I
committed.
yeah, because my partner has modified this yes, so you can try again.
Okay, so
So,
Jen and
yeah.
Hunter, in the message box, it says,
Yeah.
please fill out the attendance list. And we can try.
I did it earlier. Did it not come up for mine?
When I tried
Is
it
there-
2 weeks ago, it wouldn't work unless you entered a electronic signature.
Oh, I
Oh.
actually used my mouse and I just drew my signature with my mouse arrow.
Yeah, the column of signature is optional, so you don't have a responsibility to fill out this column. So it's no problem. So yeah, I think this attendance list can work if you try to fill out this column.
You're right,
Column
Jen.
of a
I could use my
signature.
mouse. Thank you for the suggestion.
I
I signed it.
yeah. I think this is the best, the right answer. Yeah, because it's very hard as we don't use a mouse to make a signature. So mungkin Pak Supri bisa masih ada.
So I think we're done. I think everything's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer, are you still any material for today?
Yes, that was the end of my lecture for the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
all right, very good.
Yeah.
Everyone
Started on your homeworks.
has work to do.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jennifer
Okay.
and Hunter, and also Walter. Thank you. And
Nice job, Jen and Hunter.
Okay,
Beautiful.
Thank you.
the time to Mbak Madonna. Mbak, silakan Mbak.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Pak Supri, expert from BMKG. to be a discussion partner in the session. And the one thing, thank you very much for Jen Batista and Hunter for your nice presentation and for the awesome insight and knowledge. And of course, big say thank you for Walter Muni. Always,
welcome.
yeah, give me the best suggestion. And yeah, I think always to be the best advisor for this training. So maybe yeah, thank you very much for everyone, for all of our participants here. Thank you very much for your attendance and participation. We meet again in the August 12, 2021, and don't forget you have to submit your assignment, because if you want to get certificates, so you have to submit all of assignment from the teacher. And if you have a question about anything, so you cannot access very well GIS applications, so you can give a question in LMS. Maybe Jen and Hunter will give I think will give the best answer for your question. And yeah, I think they always figure out the best solution for your problem. And yeah, thank you, Walter, Jen, and Hunter. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
See you
Have
next.
a good day.
Yeah. Good evening. Have a nice dream. Yeah.